My name is Andrea Collins, and I am 57 years old. When people hear that, they sometimes expect me to be quiet, settled, and content with life. They imagine that someone my age already has her story written, the chapters closed, and nothing left but peaceful evenings. But life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. It happened to me one evening in the middle of fall, with a simple invitation that turned my world upside down and reminded me that change can come at any age. I was living in a quiet town in Oregon. After retiring early from teaching English at the local high school, I spent most of my days reading, gardening, and visiting with neighbors. My 2 children, Emily and Ryan, were grown and living in different states. My husband, Mark, had passed away 6 years earlier after a long illness. For a long time, I felt like my life had shrunk. The house was too big, the nights too quiet, and even the ticking of the clock seemed louder than it should be. It was on one of those evenings, when the rain tapped against the windows and the leaves rustled across the driveway, that the invitation arrived. It came in the form of a phone call from an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. "Andrea," the voice asked. I paused. "Yes, who's calling?" There was a laugh on the other end, warm and familiar. "It's Karen Mitchell. Do you remember me?" Of course, I remembered her. Karen and I had gone to college together in California nearly 40 years earlier. Back then, she was adventurous, always dragging me along to concerts, road trips, and late-night coffee runs. After graduation, life had pulled us in different directions. She had moved to New York, and I had stayed closer to home, raising a family. We hadn't spoken in decades, not even a Christmas card exchange. Yet here she was, her voice sounding almost the same, carrying with it the past I thought I'd left behind. "Karen," I said, surprised. "It's been forever." "It has," she replied. "And I'm calling because I have something to ask you. Something important." Her tone shifted, and I leaned forward in my chair. "What is it?" I asked. "I'm organizing a reunion of sorts. A gathering of old friends from college. We're meeting in San Francisco in a couple of weeks. And, Andrea, I want you to come." I hesitated. The thought of traveling, of seeing people I hadn't spoken to in decades, of stepping out of my comfortable routine, it all felt overwhelming. "I don't know, Karen," I said. "It's been so long." "That's exactly why you should come," she said gently. "Sometimes, we need to be reminded of who we were, so we can see who we still are. Please, Andrea, say yes." Her words hung in the air. Something in me stirred, something I hadn't felt in years. Curiosity, excitement, maybe even hope. Against the cautious voice in my head, I agreed. "All right," I said slowly. "I'll come. 2 weeks later, I found myself boarding a plane for the first time in nearly a decade. My children were stunned when I told them. Emily laughed and said, "Go, Mom. That's the most spontaneous thing I've ever heard you do." Ryan reminded me to take plenty of pictures. When the plane landed in San Francisco, I felt like I had stepped into another world. The city buzzed with energy, the cable cars, the street musicians, the smell of coffee and sea air mingling together. I checked into the hotel Karen had recommended, a charming old building near Fisherman's Wharf. That evening, I met her in the lobby. Time had touched her, as it had all of us, but her spirit was the same. She still had that sparkle in her eyes, that magnetic energy that drew people in. We hugged, and for a moment, I felt like I was 20 again, standing outside a dorm room waiting to sneak out for late-night pizza. "Andrea, you look wonderful," she said, holding my hands. "So do you," I replied honestly. She grinned. "Come on, let's go. The others are waiting." The reunion was held at a restaurant overlooking the bay. I walked in and saw faces I hadn't seen in decades, friends I had studied with, laughed with, stayed up all night with. There was Michael, who used to play guitar at every gathering, Lisa, who had been my roommate sophomore year, and David, who had once been the shyest boy in class but now stood confidently as a lawyer. As we sat around the table, the years melted away. We shared stories, laughed about old adventures, and even cried a little remembering those who were no longer with us. The night was filled with warmth, and I realized how much I had missed this connection, belonging, the feeling of being part of something bigger than myself. But it wasn't just nostalgia. Something deeper happened that evening. When Karen raised a toast, she said, "To old friends and new beginnings." The words struck me. New beginnings. At 57, could I really start fresh? Wasn't my story already written? As I watched the city lights shimmer across the water, I realized something important. Life didn't end at retirement. It didn't end when my children moved away. It didn't even end when I lost Mark. Life was still happening, and I still had the power to choose what came next. Over the next few days, Karen and I spent hours walking the city, talking about everything from our families to our dreams. She told me about the art classes she had started taking, about her plans to travel through Europe, about the way she had decided to live fully, no matter her age. "You should come with me sometime," she said casually as we sipped coffee at a little cafe near North Beach. "Come with you where?" I asked. "Anywhere. Everywhere. Don't you see, Andrea? This is our time. We don't have to prove anything anymore. We've lived, we've worked, we've raised families. Now we get to decide what we want for ourselves." Her words were like a spark, igniting something I thought I had lost long ago. That night, back in my hotel room, I sat by the window looking out at the Golden Gate Bridge and thought about all the years I had spent waiting for the right time, the right reason, the right excuse to live boldly again. And I realized I didn't need to wait anymore. When I returned home to Oregon, I wasn't the same. My children noticed it right away. "You're glowing, Mom," Emily said during a video call. "I just feel alive," I told her. I joined a local book club, started volunteering at the community center, and even signed up for a painting class. I began to reconnect with myself, not just as a mother or widow, but as Andrea, the woman who loved to learn, explore, and dream. A few months later, Karen called again. "I'm going to Italy this summer," she said. "Come with me." The old Andrea might have hesitated. But the new Andrea smiled and said, "Yes." That simple invitation, that phone call on a rainy evening, had changed my life. It reminded me that age is not an ending, it's an opportunity. And sometimes, all it takes is one person, one moment, one invitation, to remind us of who we are and who we can still become. So here I am, at 57, living a life that feels more open and vibrant than ever before. I don't know where the road will take me, but I do know this: it's never too late to begin again.